So welcome back to the Happy Clients podcast. We are so excited to have Paul from PaulGregory Media here. And we really want to obviously share a little bit about him and his story, but also a 4-day work week, because I think this is something that most agency owners say that they want to try, but they don't really know where to start.
Welcome to the Happy Clients podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to Happy Clients.
So, Paul, welcome to the show. We're so excited to pick your brain.
Happy to be here. Yeah, 4-day work week. We have about 4 luncheons with our employees every year, and after a few martinis, we decided what it would be like. I guess I heard it on the news. Some companies, a lot of companies in Sweden were doing this, and I said, what would it be like if we piloted a program for a 4-day work week? What would that even look like, and how would that be executed? So I tasked my employees, actually 2 of them, to come up with the idea, how it would be executed, and then we would pilot it for 3 months in the summer last year. And basically, it was decided that we wouldn't do 10-hour workdays. We would just keep it to 8, so 32 hours a week, Fridays off, and Fridays would be treated like any other weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So sometimes, to make a deadline, you might have to do a proposal on a weekend, or you might have to do something in production on a weekend, and that's just the way flex time works. And Fridays would be treated no different. Certainly wouldn't schedule meetings on the weekend, and therefore we wouldn't schedule meetings on a Friday either. So we piloted the program for the summer last year. It worked so well, and a couple of new employees that we had onboarded loved the work-life balance. It's actually one of the reasons why they sought after our company, because it was listed in the benefit section, right? It's a 4-day work week. It's 100% remote. It's flex time, unlimited PTO. So you start to stock on a lot of those things, and healthcare benefits, simple IRA accounts with matching from the company. That's about the best we can do to retain employees, because in marketing, especially in the marketing industry, and other agencies know this, there's a higher attrition rate. 2 years, stepping stone, let's move on to the next. But when you offer enough benefits, I think it's a reason to stay. And we've noticed that in the last year that nobody's left and nobody wants to leave. And as long as you're paying a slightly above average salary for your city, for that agency role, and it's pretty easy to look up what the rate is from, like, Robert Half comes out with a salary guide every year, and you can match it to your city. You're not going to lose people as frequently. We did have, like, the great resignation. We'd had 2 people that just decided that they didn't want to be in marketing at all in 2020, but everybody else is staying, and they'd love to stay, and I can't hear it enough. We use a program called Office Vibe, which is a feedback loop, and it's required of our company because we're a certified B Corporation. And we need to have transparency. We need to have that feedback loop from employees and vendors and clients. But it lets me know what employees are thinking, because it sends anonymous surveys out every Monday, and it gets our ambassador score and all that good stuff. Anyway, short ending to that is the pilot was a rounding success, and we have kept it ever since. And I keep hearing probably every other week how they love the work-life balance. And we always say, have a great weekend on Thursdays. What a great feeling that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been
so
it's
Paul,
with companies all around the world.
Yeah, I think that, perfect segue. I think this is so valuable for the internal team for sure, but how is that sort of translated to everybody else you're working with, your clients who work those 5 days, those normal 5 days?
It's a split between jealousy and a hearty congratulations.
That's how we're feeling for sure.
Yeah, there's half the clients we have are like, oh man, that's so great. Congratulations. Good for you. And if a client calls our office number or my cell number on a Friday, I'm picking up. Yeah, whatever I happen to be doing, I'm going to probably pick up because it's my agency. And it's probably a call regarding, question about something, who knows, right? But yeah, and the other half is jealous. They're and actually one client adopted it. We have a university as a client, and they're a nonprofit, and they decided that they were going to do a 4-day work week as well.
I love that. And so when you were piloting this, did you tell your team like, okay, we're going to pilot this for 3 months, or did you set boundaries on that?
We did. We said we're going to pilot it for 3 months and then we're going to see how it goes. What I was concerned about was how employees were going to manage their time, because it's a very compressed time and it really requires some good time management. And in our agency, everybody's kind of autonomous, right? They manage their clients, which I want to get to in a second. They manage their clients, they manage their time, and you combat that with unlimited PTO. Just to run the numbers for you real quick, you already have 52 days off a year, plus holidays, which is 8 days. So you already have 60 days off a year. Now you have unlimited PTO, and we require at least 2 weeks, which is another 8 days. So that's 68 days off a year that are required, plus whatever mental health days or afternoons or whatever you want to take off. Add to that flex time, so it's not a 9-to-5 job. You can work whenever you want as long as you get your projects done. And so my concern was, are they putting in the time? Because if there's not enough client work, I need to know that. If their bandwidth is like 70% or 50%, and then is there internal projects that I could feed them so that we could do our own marketing? And what I've learned is I had to stop looking at our timesheets, at our time logs, because if I wasn't seeing 32 hours, I was like, oh, they're not working enough. But that's not what flex time is about. It's about how many clients do you have? Are you delivering? And are you productive? And our time management software to determine if they're being profitable. Like how many hours are they putting in that are billable versus non-billable? And I've made the transition last year to not look at how many hours they're putting in per week, but what are their deliverables and how profitable they are. And that's a huge paradigm shift. And it needs to be made if you're going to offer flex time and a compressed work week. So that was my biggest, I guess, lesson last year.
Yeah. And so that's a huge shift away from not only removing an entire day of the week, so 20%, but also saying you can work whenever you want within those 4 days. And I'm not even going to look at your hours. That's a huge shift from a leadership perspective for you to think differently, I guess, and like think about your employees' ROI differently. So obviously it's been working well. So for an agency owner who's like, I really like that thinking, what would you recommend? What would you say to those agency owners?
Well, you know what the deliverables are, right? We have an average of 40 clients in any given month. And services range from social media to SEO to website design and development and another 6 or 7 services. So I know what the due dates are for everything. We have a project management software that we use. So I know the due dates and I can see a 30,000 foot view, what's running late, what's not running late. Actually, if anything has a yellow tag on it, which means it's running late, that would be a very rare occurrence because it almost never happens. Nobody would let that happen. They don't want to have that shame, I guess. As an agency owner, that's having a good project management software that you know where the deliverables are when they're due. That's all you really need, right? And then, of course, making sure the pipeline's full and getting into sales.
And the huge piece of that, and where even like personally, I love thriving into is like that efficiency piece, right? Like you have it tasked out, you have everything sort of laid out, you're delivering on every single step, you know where it all is. But kind of the step before that is that you guys are set up for success. You guys have the right processes. So how did you even get there, Paul, in terms of kind of setting you up for this 4-day work week?
We looked at a lot of project management software over the course of 6 months, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. ClickUp is probably the most popular among agency owners. And what I found is it was too rigid for us. And it's too rigid for flex time because you're assigning resources, people, you're assigning a timeline. And so, what everybody's working on, when they're working on it, and when it's due. The problem with that format is that when an employee comes to work that morning, they know what they have to do every hour of the day. And that's way too rigid for us. Because what if you want to take a mental health day and then the whole project thing gets thrown off whack? So what we do is we just put in a project description, maybe a checklist, and then the final deliverable due date. That's it. And if the due date is this coming Friday and you wake up today and say, not getting out of bed, you have that luxury, you have that flexibility, or you have your dog tripped and now you have to take your dog to the vet. And that just happened to be my story last week. So I didn't have to worry. I looked at my deadlines. Was anything due today? No. Do I have enough time to get to my deadlines that are due tomorrow? Yes. I'm good. So
that's such an accountability piece too. Like that's really empowering and so good for the team to have that ownership, right? I can even, not to make this all about me, but like personally, I would love that too. Just kind of being in charge of your own piece, right?
I think that part is the most empowering to employees. So not only the benefits, but to have the power to manage your own schedule. And it does take some discipline. All right. So even new employees that we brought on last year was our newest, never had a problem with time management issues. Like, I always interview for soft skills and are they mature enough to handle their own time and be autonomous? So I think I've done a good job with that. And that's certainly something to look for during the hiring process. But I have to give a quick plug to you guys just for a second. So 40 clients a given month, that's a lot to juggle for an agency owner and to keep your finger on the pulse of everything. And when you're dealing with 40 clients, balls are dropping. So I knew I needed some help. And so when I came to you guys for a client account manager, over the course of 2 months, she took over 11 clients and 60 hours a month of my time. So there was 60 hours of client account management that I no longer had to do. I mean, it just vanished. So that was step one. Step two was, wow, this could happen for all of our employees. So I went from a hub model where everything was sort of spoked out from me to every employee is their own client account manager for their 7 to 10 clients. And then, of course, Dot and Company, our beloved Miriam, handles 11 clients of her own, which were directly taken from me. So, man, was that a time saver. So it allowed us to scale last year. So last year was our biggest growth yet.
So welcome back to our podcast brought to you by the CAM community. Are you struggling to effectively manage your client services team? The CAM community has the solution. So our monthly membership offers a 7-module training program, templates, and most importantly, a community of experienced account managers to support your team. Say goodbye to stress and frustration and hello to a successful client management team. Enroll now using the link in the description or visit dotandcompany.co/CAM community and take control of your agency's growth. We'll see you in the CAM community.
That's amazing, Paul. That's like, I mean, music's at our ears, but we're so excited for you just as an agency to even get that time back and put it back into the agency to grow.
So appreciative.
That's great. And to even have that like waterfall mentality a little bit too, like you saw kind of maybe one person doing a great job owning it, really being in charge of those 11 clients and, seeing that that's possible for everybody else. And I think that's such a great sort of even waterfall effect here where people are owning, they're empowered, they're contributing to, it's not Paul's team, it's PaulGregory, like kind of everybody's coming together, which is really great to see.
Even though the agency name has my name, I've always wanted to remove myself from it. As a freelancer, that's a good thing, right? It's a good gig. It's a way to build a personal brand. But when you start building an agency, you need to figure out a way to detach yourself from the brand name. I think I've done a good job with that. People don't realize that the agency is even named after me many times. It's usually like an aha moment, like 3 years in. But Miriam, who's our client account manager from Dot and Company, she rubs off on all the other employees. She's in our weekly meetings. And as she builds standard operating procedures and processes for us, it's learned by other employees. And they've adopted a lot of what she has learned and what she does for our company. So yeah, waterfall effect indeed, Katie.
Which we love to hear. And I know Miriam just feels the same way too, of course. This is what I love about sort of what we're doing here at Dot and Company too. She's definitely part of the PGM team and has been for quite some time. It's a two-sided coin. Of course, we love it just as much. But kind of back to that 4-day work week, also a part of her benefit as well, her perk. And these sort of changes that you've made, the growth that you've had, Of course, I can understand that the growth is probably the hugest, but what is the wins of having the 4-day work week? Of course, we have a highly efficient team. Clients are on board, which I think that's a huge win.
Yeah.
The right processes, but how did you not stop at, August 31st comes? How did you keep going? Why did you keep going? What was the win with this 4-day work week?
I think what actually ended up happening was you really have to be kind of laser focused for a 4-day work week. And if you empower your employees to do that with flex time and manage your own time, either employee is going to make it or not. I think it's going to be pretty clear after 1 or 2 weeks, what's going to happen. And we just got lucky that every employee wanted it so badly that they made sure they got their work done. And what I found was that we were more productive. We were more productive those 4 days than having Fridays on. Now, and Fridays, because it's a day off, sometimes, and maybe I did this 4 or 5 times last year, I did work. I just worked, but I was meeting free. And in 2019, we probably had 3 or 4 client meetings in person a week. But because of the pandemic and Zoom or Google Meet, choose your poison, it's now like there's 7 to 8 meetings a day. So as an agency owner, I no longer do production. In fact, I refuse to do production. They're better at it than I am anyway. But I can't get any work done, which, usually what falls on me are proposals or operations, scaling, that kind of stuff. And I can't do that if I'm in 7 or 8 meetings a day. So I have to pick and choose. But to answer your question, Katie, what I found is that August 31st was like, we're more productive. We're getting more work done. We're laser focused. Meetings are like, we went from a 1-hour meeting, standing meetings with clients, to half-hour meetings. If we can't figure out what we're doing in half an hour, we're not figuring it out. So that was another change we had to do. When you go from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week, 1-hour meetings are gone. Can't happen.
And I think that's such a really great takeaway to this too, is that, and I feel like I'm on repeat here, but that efficiency piece too. When you said meeting people in person, I was like, oh my God, remember that? Like,
right.
you'd be talking forever. You'd be traveling a little bit. It would just be such a time suck.
And back when we had an office, which we don't anymore, we're 100% remote. I couldn't stand spending $3,000 a month for picking up mail. So,
and I think clients love it too, to be honest. They don't want to be sitting around for hours. Well, you always get that one client that's kind of chatty, but you know what I mean? They want to be as efficient as you guys are. So that half an hour is really effective. It's really sort of streamlined and efficient. So I think that definitely would work on both sides as well. And
there's always exceptions to the rule too, but for the most part, our meetings are 15 and 30 minutes.
15 minutes, Paul, how do you do it?
It's very little chatter. It's more about, what do we need to get done and what do we need to solve? They appreciate it too. And, we're an agency that's devoted to nonprofits. And if you've ever met an executive director at a nonprofit, they are juggling so many balls. They're so busy. And when you say, listen, we need to meet, it's only going to take 15 minutes or less, that's music to their ears.
That's such a great preface here too. We probably should have mentioned that, 20 minutes ago when we started this podcast, but you do work, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but exclusively with not-for-profits, right? I've worked not-for-profit before too. And I think this is something to kind of just that aligns with their sort of structure sometimes too. They're often, have many balls in the air, wearing many hats, and kind of promoting that sort of really effective communication, really effective meetings would be, I can imagine, very beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, to give you a quick 30-second backstory on that, I got involved in volunteering late in life. It was 12 years ago. I joined my first board of directors for a Chamber of Commerce, then Habitat for Humanity, and it sort of blossomed from there. And so I just loved the governance work and the beneficiaries, especially those that were underserved, like homelessness or poverty or senior citizens, people with disabilities. And we just started being able to help them. We were a marketing company. I was on the board of many of them. So I was just providing marketing help. And then it sort of blossomed from there. So when we were hiring, people sought us out because we were devoted to nonprofits and their beneficiaries. So I think that's also got some staying power to it because it's marketing work that makes them feel good, really. Now, occasionally, in full disclosure, if a for-profit comes to us and they're very mission-driven and philanthropic, we will take them on. So we do have for-profit clients. One is an industrial design company that does amazing work with third world countries. They build like pedal-powered washing machines for third world countries and things like that. Another is a painting company that's local that raises money 3 times a year for an autism foundation and then paints churches and other buildings pro bono in the community every year. So if they're very philanthropic like that and they're giving back to the community and they're very community driven, we will accept their funds.
Which is more to the point, even that they are sort of doing these extra, community events throughout the year that is adding to their workday, right? So I'm sure they can really appreciate that streamlined.
Well, the purpose is purpose-driven marketing, right? Or cause-driven marketing. So if I think it's going to make an employee feel good about what they're doing, I don't want the employee to leave. I don't want my attrition rate to go up. So it's helping in that area as well. But gosh, it makes me feel good too. So why change that model?
Yeah, I will acknowledge that you do have obviously a good thing going. Our team, loves working with PGM. I feel like it's mutual. But what's the future, Paul? Where are you going? Maybe it's a 4-day work week for the rest of your life, but what's happening with PGM in the future?
Oh, that's a great question.
Loaded.
Yeah, really loaded. This year, we're concentrated just on growth, right? One of our services requires the most amount of talent, which is, and maybe you can see if you can guess this, in a marketing agency,
oh my gosh, a test.
Various services that a marketing agency might provide, or a digital marketing agency, requires critical thinking, content strategy, copywriting skills, graphic design skills, animation skills, and overall strategic thinking. What one service requires all of that? Any guesses?
I was going to guess social media management.
Yes. Yes.
Because it takes all the time.
It's the hardest thing to do well. And we do it so well. And we have one of the best in class reporting systems out there that lets us report on our growth and engagement for that particular company across all their channels. But even better, because we're all about transparency, it lets us benchmark against 3 or 4 agencies or 3 or 4 companies similar to theirs. So we can see how we're doing, and to show that and be transparent like that, like, oh man, we sucked this week, or we did really well. By the way, we never suck. We always are out beating the company. Habitat for Humanity is a great example. Habitat for Humanity of Illinois is a client of ours. We measure against their company against Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, and then also the national out of Atlanta. Now the national, when we beat them in a month of social media, that's like, we're like jumping for joy. We're shouting it out to the board of directors. Hey, we beat national on our local Illinois chapter. So it's a fun way to keep an eye on the prize at the ball. Anyway, that's the service, social media, that we want to really blow out this year. So that's our plan for this year, is to just blow that out, because we do have the talent and resources, and we're probably at 50% capacity. And for every 8 new clients, we just hire a new person. Every person can handle 8 clients if they're going to do it well.
Amazing. Well, I think I'm going to start scheduling my 4-day work week starting Monday.
Katie, don't you do that already? I do.
I will acknowledge, I was like, is that what a 4-day work week is? No meetings on Friday, because I do have half my day booked off on Friday, so no meetings. But it's so appealing. And I think you spoke to a lot of things that remote agencies need. And I think those benefits are certainly helpful. I think even acknowledging that flex work lands differently. Like it's different. It's a different culture. It's not corporate. And everybody that we work with, in this industry is mostly remote. So it's definitely something worth, I think, even looking into, or even some takeaways to kind of make your work week more efficient. This has been a great podcast. Paul, anything else we should know about PGM, a 4-day work week, or anything special at all?
I'll leave you with one pro tip.
Perfect.
One thing that we're forced to adopt on a 4-day work week with flex time is asynchronous communication. And if you replace your huddles and your meetings and brainstorming sessions with asynchronous communication via Slack, email, texting, it makes a huge difference. Because if somebody's working at 12 o'clock at night and they have a question, and then I'm not going to wake up until 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll answer that question, and then they see that answer say 12 noon, that's fine. As long as it fits within the deadline, that's fine. So we've adopted asynchronous communication, huge. We've adopted Slack, which, we're late in the game on that, but we love it. And then for the synchronous communication, we couldn't eliminate it 100%. So we do have 2 meetings a week where everybody gets together, including our client account manager, Miriam, just so she's in the know and we know what she's working on. And then I have office hours every 2 days a week for a half hour. Anybody can just pop in whenever they want and ask me a question. There's a half hour twice a week that they can do that for. And then one-on-ones every 2 weeks, which is, I think, it's important to. That's more about how employees are feeling as opposed to what they're working on and challenges. Those are for the other meetings, but how are they feeling? Are they overwhelmed? Are they underwhelmed? Are they having a bad week, a good week, that kind of stuff. So it's important to keep those few getting everybody together on the same page once or twice a week, but embracing asynchronous communication was key for us for that 4-day work.
And even perfecting it. So, you're not overwhelmed. It's the expectations are all sort of transparent and well established. That's awesome. And certainly helps even you kind of bring a team from, dare I say, international team, since we're in Canada, brings you all together. Right. So Paul, this has been really awesome. I feel like I have so many notes to take away. But I know there's a lot of people out there who can benefit from listening to this and listening to how well it works at PGM. So, of course, where can everybody find PaulGregory Media and all your wonderful services, and maybe even meet the team? They can go to.
Well, you said it, PaulGregory Media. Just add a .com to the end of that.
Perfect. I was going to let you say it. That's awesome. So head over to paulmediagregory.com, look at everything Paul has to offer and his team has to offer. It's been a great podcast. Thank you so much, Paul. And really helpful. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Cheers to happy clients.